Imagine a prison where the walls themselves seem to whisper stories of fear, suffering, and human cruelty. This is Abu Ghraib, a place in Iraq that became infamous not for its architecture, but for the shocking acts that unfolded within it. After the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003, the prison was reopened to detain those suspected of insurgent activity. But what happened inside would expose the dark side of human behavior and show the world how ordinary people can commit extraordinary acts of cruelty. In late 2003 and early 2004, reports began to surface. Journalists and human rights organizations noticed that something deeply troubling was occurring. By April 2004, the world saw images that would haunt its collective memory. Photos showed hooded prisoners standing on boxes with wires attached to their hands, naked detainees piled in human pyramids, soldiers grinning and giving thumbs-up signs while overseeing humiliation and abuse. There were images of prisoners threatened with dogs, forced into degrading positions, and subjected to physical and psychological torment. The shock was not just in what was done, but in how casually it seemed to happen. Many of the prisoners were innocent civilians. They were teachers, shopkeepers, family men, or simply people in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some were detained for months without charges, enduring beatings, sleep deprivation, and humiliation. Survivors would later speak of nightmares, trauma, and lives forever altered by their time in that prison. One man described being hooded, beaten, and forced into positions that left his body and spirit broken. Another spoke of being tied, suspended, and tortured in ways that left permanent physical scars. Investigations into Abu Ghraib revealed shocking details. Soldiers forced detainees into sexual acts for photos, subjected them to mock executions, beat them with objects, and deprived them of food, sleep, and dignity. The Deguba report, an official army investigation, confirmed that abuse was widespread, often encouraged by a culture of unclear rules, chaotic leadership, and lack of supervision. The environment created a pressure cooker where moral boundaries were blurred, and ordinary people became agents of cruelty. Psychologists studying Abu Ghraib point to a combination of situational pressures that explain, though not excuse, the behavior. Chronic stress, fear, and moral ambiguity eroded ethical boundaries. Dehumanization made it easier to treat prisoners as objects rather than people. Group dynamics and peer pressure pushed soldiers to conform to behavior around them. These factors, combined with inadequate training and a lack of oversight, created conditions where abuse could flourish. Among the most tragic cases was the death of a detainee named Manadel al-Jamadi. Injured during a bombing, he was brought to Abu Ghraib bound and suspended in a way that caused severe trauma and ultimately death. His story highlights the lethal consequences of an environment where cruelty is unchecked. In the aftermath, 11 soldiers were charged with maltreatment, assault, and dereliction of duty. 9 were sentenced to prison, though some were released early. Military officials described the abuses as actions of a few individuals, while critics argued that the problem was systemic, tied to interrogation policies and the broader pressures of the war. Civil lawsuits also sought redress for victims, emphasizing the lasting impact of what happened within those walls. Abu Ghraib is more than a prison scandal. It is a case study in human psychology, ethics, and power. It shows how fear, authority, chaos, and moral ambiguity can warp actions and erode empathy. The prison has since been closed, yet its legacy endures in history books, psychology studies, and debates about human rights and military ethics. The story of Abu Ghraib forces a difficult reflection. It asks how we guard against cruelty, how we preserve humanity in extreme situations, and how we ensure accountability for those in power. It reminds us that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary harm when placed in toxic environments, and that vigilance, oversight, and moral courage are essential to prevent such tragedies from happening again. Ultimately, Abu Ghraib is a mirror held up to humanity. It asks what we would do in similar circumstances and challenges us to create systems that protect the vulnerable, honor human dignity, and uphold justice even in the darkest of times. It is a story that shocks, teaches, and warns, demanding that the lessons of the past guide the choices of the future.